Welcome back to The Pulse. We just got done talking tournament results and general StarCraft II news before the break. We asked you guys what was the biggest heartbreak of this past GSL Code S. We're going to reveal the answers to you in just a moment. Coming up next is our hot topic. We're going to be talking about League of Legends. Now, I know this is a dangerous subject in our community, but it's one that is definitely worth broaching. Before we get too deep into the discussion, we sat down with Monte Christo. Monte Christo is the League of Legends commentator for OGN. He's got a long history with the game and has worked countless events around the world. This is what he had to say about League of Legends and about some of the connections it makes to the StarCraft II community.
So we're here to talk about the growth of League of Legends and how it's just hit a meteoric height. Can you explain to me and maybe even talk about different specific instances where growth exploded, and why do you think the game has gotten to this astronomical level that we haven't even expected yet?
I think a lot of it has to do with how well the players have cultivated personalities on stream and drawn huge streamer numbers. I think a lot of it is just the popularity of the game. I mean, there are just so many people. It's the most played game in the world pretty much right now. And when you have that, you just have the streams with it, and you have the promotion of the esports events by Riot in client. You have the setup of all of these tournament circuits that Riot funds and puts money into so that the esports scene will continue to grow and develop. And it's a worldwide phenomenon.
How much would you attribute to Riot's involvement to its percentage of its success?
I think that Riot has become so intertwined and with esports, and they are really huge proponents of esports at the core, that I think that they probably wouldn't have seen the numbers that they have if they didn't actively push esports.
Is there anything that you would suggest for StarCraft II in order to improve it to that kind of level?
Honestly, like, Blizzard's done a lot right. League of Legends has a garbage client that still doesn't even have a replay system. And you're looking at some really awesome features implemented in Heart of the Swarm, like the ability to watch replays together. Like, I would love just a replay for League of Legends, and you guys are getting that. There are a couple more things, like microtransactions, like a bit more money into esports that I think will really get them over the hump, as it were. I think from here on out, it really is League of Legends and StarCraft II going hand in hand. If you're talking about pitching a major organization like ESPN, I think that it's better to bring both games together than have either one independently, because it'll add depth to the esports scene. Like, I'm not interested in some sort of esports League of Legends monoculture at a big level, and I don't think any of the big companies would be either. So I love the combination of those, and I think that, like, if we can get those two games to work together to actually break into the big time as the two biggest esports in the world, I think that's going to be the way forward. So in my mind, it would be good for Riot and Blizzard to work together a bit to see how they can make this happen, how they can maybe start creating some sort of pitch system together. I know it's far-fetched, I know. I'm not saying I think it's likely, but I'd love to see that.
Big thank you so much to Monte Christo. You can follow him on Twitter at GGC Monte Christo. Have at it, boys.
League of Legends is huge, guys, but have you ever sat back and asked yourself just how big? Well, Riot recently released an infographic that details it. Check this out. Never mind. We're not going to show that infographic.
It's gone.
But LoL's a big game, man. 32 million players monthly. They have certainly, Riot has certainly gotten behind esports. They've been pushing the hell out of building this thing, and I think we have all been very impressed at the steps that Riot Games has taken. What do you guys think just about the size and the scope of this game?
Well, I got to work behind the scenes when it was first pushing into esports with Major League Gaming. I was a production assistant for the league side. I actually made my on-camera debut for League because there's some issues with the servers there. But going back to what Riot has done, this was a huge gamble. Industry leaders back in the late 2000s thought this is a joke, a free-to-play game. This is not going to be successful. And it's been hugely successful. And they did take a big risk with doing this, but the gamble has totally paid off. They have a lot of pieces within the game itself that make it very easily accessible. But from our stance as talent, as driven community leaders in the world of esports, and primarily with StarCraft II, we can't ignore that success. And I hear a lot of people complain. They look at the stream numbers. I want to bring up a graphic here. Let's talk about the Super Bowl this weekend. Last year, 101.3 million people watched the Super Bowl from the United States of America. There we go. And does that mean baseball can't exist? Does that mean hockey can't exist? Does that mean other sports can't exist because of that success? No. That's just the biggest thing that's out there right now. But other communities, other games, other esports titles can be completely successful.
And that's a really valid point, I think Clutch makes. Just because there is someone that's biggest, that's tall, like the tallest person, doesn't mean there's other players in the faction. And something that I really liked what Monte Christo said in our interview that I don't know necessarily got conveyed through it is that he told me that he thinks League of Legends, if it just goes to the mainstream, will be incredibly shallow for esports. It's just going to be one-dimensional. There's 4 major platforms, as you saw in PBS. There's fighting games, there's RTS, there's all kinds of games that are out there. There's shooters. If you just have League of Legends, it's very shallow because afterwards you do kind of get bored once in a while. You need to play other games. That's what makes gaming cool. There's such a big variety. He says, and he told me that he thinks StarCraft II and League of Legends will go hand in hand. Tournaments will always have those two because you offer one versus the other. You have a break. Sometimes you watch a little bit too much StarCraft, you go check out League, and vice versa.
I've never had that feeling in my life.
Yeah. But for the casual fan, not everyone's as beast as you are, kid.
My analogy is like League of Legends is the Walmart, and StarCraft is like Whole Foods. You know, we're a little bit snobby. We require a little bit more. Yeah, everything's a little bit more expensive, but League, you can't deny them. They're huge. Walmart's huge.
They are huge, man. It is just absurd. I got my start in StarCraft doing a coaching show, 12 weeks with the pros, and I did like episodes for like 6 months, making just tirelessly creating content for people, getting on the best players, the most exciting players, and like my most popular 12 weeks video ever might have gotten 20,000 hits, right? I did one 12 weeks with the show's pro for League of Legends while I was working.
One day.
One day, 1 hour, while I was working at the Intel Extreme Masters doing with ESL, doing the IEM Kiev. Check this out. Look at this. Look at the number of hits that you've got on this video. 270,000 hits for Ocelot talking about Cassiopeia and like
telling you how to play LoL.
Yeah, telling me how to play, and he had plenty to say because I'm clueless. But like the question that I really want to raise here is when you talk about what we do. We are esports professionals. Yes, we're StarCraft commentators, but our industry is esports, and certainly esports is much bigger than just StarCraft. Is League of Legends too big? Is it too important for us as professionals to continue to ignore?
You want to follow success. You want to go where the audience is. Just like playing games, being involved with the inside and outside of the games, the external portion of the games being the show or talent, it's very important. Does that mean I have to give up what I do with StarCraft II? No, but I've never signed a piece of paper anywhere saying I can only do StarCraft II. I can only do one game. No, I play Dota 2. I love Dota 2. I play League of Legends. I love League of Legends. I play so many different games that I'd love to get involved in more. But sometimes the community's like, you can't do that, you can't do this. And yes, I have to focus my time, because I only have 24 hours in a day and I'm awake for 18 of them, mostly, that I need to focus on StarCraft II more, because that's my bread and butter.
Well, I do agree with like most of what Clutch does. I do want to bring up, because I actually have worked a lot on League casting before, and it's a little fun fact. And some people may hate me for it.
Yeah, man, we casted the finals.
Some Dutchman on the set might hate me. That's right. But right before I joined NASL, I was casting a lot of League, and then NASL asked me to join, and I was like, of course, I'd love to. And if there's anything that I found from being on both sides, is that as a professional of the industry, even though you might feel tempted to go to the other side and really do both, you really can't be 100% prolific or proficient in multiple games. I've asked Andre about this. He's done Han too. You know, I really feel like people, they try to do all these kinds of games and stuff, and that's true. You can do commentary and whatnot, but to do like the best, if you want to have the highest quality, even if you're a pro, everyone knows that being a pro across multiple games is incredibly difficult. Yeah. I expect the same out of casters and professionals in this industry.
I love that point. I mean, we talk about, we're on our high horses all the time talking about, oh, StarCraft casters that don't play StarCraft. You know, we love to make light of that.
Well, honestly, us as full-time casters, if we watched all the StarCraft that we could possibly watch, I still don't think we catch up with every single point of the metagame. There's always going to be that little tiny trick that Bishu brings up that he's able to exploit. We're like, oh, man.
I watch all of Bishu's games.
New PvP build by Alfie.
I've been watching him practice with the Canucks recently.
No, but that's what it comes down to. So how can you reasonably do that? Like, I was casting Heroes of New Earth in Season 2, and I knew, like, the bare minimum I felt for the metagame, but I was still asking the most basic questions. And I was like straddling the fence as much as possible, and I couldn't keep up with StarCraft, I realized. So I was like, nope, I can't do this anymore.
I think it depends a lot on what kind of commentator you want to be. Like, there are very all-around commentators, and they can definitely focus on multiple games.
Doa's done a phenomenal job of doing both StarCraft and League of Legends.
Yeah, but I mean, Doa is a really fun StarCraft II commentator, and I actually enjoy listening to Doa a lot. But I don't listen to Doa to see what he has to say about the new PvZ trends, for instance. And I really feel that that's like almost impossible. I think to some degree I've always been like, you guys know me, I'm like extremely stubborn and narrow-minded, that I say, oh, I don't want to do anything. As soon as any question comes up about me doing anything other than StarCraft, like I start being a little kid. No, I don't want to do it. So I don't think that I could do it, even though like I do agree that it's the League community. It's so big, and it does make you wonder every now and then, like, hey, that could have perhaps been a career choice. But then again, I always want to do what makes me most happy in life, and I do not think I would ever have as much fun casting anything else than StarCraft. So I rather devote all my time to StarCraft and try to be an expert to at least the level I can be.
And adding a little more onto that too is there is an infrastructure now. There wasn't 2 years ago that can pay your bills if you focus on StarCraft II here at the NESO. And a lot of people had to diversify their portfolios. Other people have to do that as well. I mean, me learning Korean, I don't have to learn Korean, but I want to increase my value and my skills to be able to do it, to make myself more marketable to other events or to other I'd love to go to Korea. I'm gonna throw it out there. I want to go to Korea. I want to go. But I feel that's very important. Now, if you have the support to focus on just one game, you get to work full time. Great, go for it. But don't be afraid to diversify your portfolio if you're still trying to land something in the world of esports.
I think diversifying is really good, but it's also a respect issue too. I think a lot of people need to understand that, like, League, what they're doing is absolutely brilliant for esports. Like, do you see the way they're modeling Season 3?
Oh my gosh.
It's absolutely incredible, because where do you go from what Season 3 is doing? They're having set up leagues within a different continent. So they have NA and EU. From there, they have teams that can compete, and there's up and downs within the mid-season, so people are always contending. From there, what do you have? You have teams that want to make trades because obviously they're not satisfied. Then you have contracts. You have people that are negotiating. You have rumor mills. You have news covering constantly daily activity. This is what actually sets up an association in the future, because then more teams join in and more investors are willing to come in.
What it essentially is, it's Riot directly funding these teams, directly paying for esports.
And that's a completely different business model than what we have with Blizzard, because Blizzard isn't in esports. They're getting into esports, but they're a software company. They're a game design company. They're not. They don't have the infrastructure set up for esports yet.
Well, the same thing was with Riot. Riot partnered with tournaments, organizers, saw what they did, and then improved upon it. Blizzard did the same thing, more or less not as involved as Riot with the WCS. They partnered with the different organizations.
But they're investing all into League of Legends because that's their only game.
Exactly.
To do that with
different
Blizzard,
companies.
that's very,
One
very
game
scary,
versus
because you have a box,
3 or 4.
a box sell for how you're actually getting the game out to everybody, and then you're saying, let me dump a ton of money into this, expecting a ton of games to be sold after this, because that's really the only place where they're getting a lot of money. I mean, maybe some organizations that are profitable, of course, Blizzard probably takes cut, but
you know, that's actually I like the point that you're making, and I'm going to use that to transition right over into our next talking point, which is if there are any lessons to be learned from League of Legends, or on the other side of the fence, if there's anything that League of Legends could maybe learn from StarCraft, what are those lessons? The one thing that you're getting at is perhaps the sustainability of the box sales.
It's more so just a completely different way that Blizzard has approached the game, right? Like, Riot was able to make this an esport right off the get-go. They're able to do it a lot faster because it's their only game. For Blizzard to do that, I feel like it's the all your eggs in one basket. Not really, but it's a big risk for them to do that.
It's a big change for the way. I mean, we know because of all the talks that we have with Blizzard just on a day-to-day basis of a lot of what happens kind of behind the scenes. And we know that they're very aware of esports, and they're continuing to invest in esports. And they have put an arbitrary statistic that I might get in trouble for saying, but like last year, Blizzard spent almost as much on esports as Riot did, and that's going to blow a lot of people away. But Blizzard invests a ton of money into esports. They just don't do it with maybe the same level of transparency. They don't do it so openly, and they aren't, for instance, going to an EG and saying, here's $80,000 salary for one of your players. I don't actually know what the exact numbers are for Riot.
I like that you said for one of your players.
Well, if you look at the game market itself, it has changed. When the internet came out, that changed everything. Broadband changed everything. Now with this free-to-play or microtransactions, it has changed the game once again. I want to get into this a little bit more here right now. Riot has a menu. You can go to the Riot menu. You don't have to spend any money on this game. In the menu, you have customization options. You have XP boosts you can buy with real money or with gaining experience in the game itself. Dota 2 also has a similar type menu where you can purchase customization pieces for your different heroes. You can also earn them by playing randomly, but for small boosts or small amounts of money, you can have access to different cosmetics. They do not change the core gameplay, and that's very important. MMOs have switched a lot to free-to-play. PlanetSide 2 came out initially as free-to-play. This works for an online experience, casually with friends at first, that grows into a competition. Does free-to-play work for games like Far Cry 3 or StarCraft 2? No! No, they do not, because they have a single-player campaign which is heavily produced with a dramatic cinematic experience, as we see with this amazing trailer. This is what you get for the $60 box of a game. You get this incredible single-player experience, this campaign mode, plus you get the multiplayer. It's completely worth the amount of money to purchase it. Can microtransactions work in StarCraft 2? Can microtransactions work in StarCraft 2? Yes, they can. With skins, player portraits. Look, you could purchase perhaps a portrait of Chance, our mascot. Let's say an arbitrary number, $4. $2 goes to Blizzard, $2 goes to Chance. Everybody's happy. This does not affect the core gameplay. Why wouldn't you want to support Chance? He's awesome, and support Blizzard. Guys, listen, we say this with brevity. We say this tempered because Blizzard, I'm sure, knows of these things. They're working on these things per chance, and they may be features released in Heart of the Swarm. All I'm saying is Blizzard microtransactions can work. Blizzard, I want to give you more money. And that's my point.
So you're saying single player can't work with free to play, but multiplayer can?
No, for the careful Chance, for the for the structure that Blizzard has. Like I gave Far Cry 3 as an example, and I gave StarCraft 2 as an example. Because of the business model and how they develop and how they market the game, it cannot work in a free-to-play mode. If they change their marketing, if they change their production type, it probably could, maybe, but not with the production they have now.
It's too high, you're saying?
Well, the type of investment in all the voice acting, the graphics, it's meant to be a purchase box game.
I'm not sure if I necessarily
disagree with that.
Yeah.
Really, really highly.
If they don't have any microtransactions, how are they going to make money?
No.
Well, that's what we're saying.
That's what you do with free-to-play.
Well, they don't have microtransactions right now, so that's my point.
I know, but you're saying, like, it can't work, right? You're saying free-to-play can't work because they don't have microtransactions?
If they have no microtransactions, how are they going to get money for their product?
Yeah, well, okay.
I think the whole topic of free-to-play in StarCraft is probably moot anyway, because we know it's not something that's going to be happening. Certainly not anytime in the near future.
I do want to make one point about that, though. What's different is that with Riot Games, they make things really transparent. They actually allow a lot of third-party modding to do a lot of their database and to even their skins.
And to do replays.
Yeah, well, not. I mean, because their replay system is non-existent in League of Legends. But when they do those kinds of things, they allow people to play around on a public test server with their new skins. They allow people to really do all these kinds of things because they really truly believe that if people love the game, that they'll support it. Meanwhile, I mean, that's kind of just a completely different company approach than what Blizzard really does with a lot of their games. They're like, if you want it, you have to buy it. Versus Riot was starting off as kind of like, you know, what you said, it was kind of a joke at first. They didn't really know what to do, so they said if people like it, they'll show up for it, and they took more of like the Zynga approach. And all of a sudden, they're the richest esports company in the world.
I like what you said. Just before the show started, actually, Andre and me were talking a little bit about Heroes of New Earth, how that used to be free, and then you could buy the game but didn't have to yet, and then like after 3-4 months you would actually have to buy the game. But like I played that game in the start, I was like, this is kind of like a Dota. And I played it a little bit. I was like, wow, this game is amazing. Yeah. And then I was like, okay, I'm just like gonna buy the game right now, even though I could have played it for free 3-4 more months, and maybe I would have quit by then. I just said like, hey, I have so much entertainment of this game right now. Here's my 20, or maybe it was $30. Like, I will gladly support you as company.
I honestly think Heroes of Newerth is the better game out of the three. I just enjoy it so much more.
I know we are like the two only people in the world who think that, but
I really like Heroes of Newerth. But when you look at the differences between Heroes of Newerth and something like League of Legends, you have to really ask yourself, why did League of Legends blow up so crazy? And then also look at how Han has kind of reacted to things. They started as box sales originally, and I have some of this. 15 months later, 15 months after release, they switched over to free-to-play. That means League of Legends is going for so much longer free-to-play. That's just an extreme amount of exposure for them. It allows them to be the first to market for, what, a year?
Yeah. And
they're going to get those results.
A funny little thing to mention, just on since we keep sort of harping on free-to-play and its merits, there is a little MOBA game from Hi-Res Studios called Smite that a lot of people know about. Smite recently announced, I don't even know if this is official, but Slasher tweeted about it, so I can talk about it.
Blame Slasher.
But they announced a $100,000 Smite tournament. That's massive. This game is not a game that you talk about on the mainstream every day, but that is a game that is completely free to play, completely supported by microtransaction, and profitable enough that they can take $100 grand and say, here's a tournament, have fun. So it's pretty interesting and pretty cool. A neat concept. But I still haven't really gotten much of an answer of what lessons can we learn here, looking at one versus the other?
Well, I think like a couple of the microtransactions that Clutch was touching on, I think that's really cool, and I certainly think that Blizzard could perhaps work closer together with some certain teams. Imagine if instead of like Blue Marines, you could have Marines with an EG jersey, and they can sell it. Like, how cool is that?
That would be awesome.
I think that would be super cool.
I want beach ball Banelings.
Yeah, you can have beach ball Banelings.
I want an entire ocean theme for my zero. I want lobster Ultralisks. I want a sunshine Overlord.
Yeah, but they always have, I think like one thing, if they would ever go there, of course there always has to be an on and off option. Like either I play with standard graphics or I don't mind seeing customized graphics. But I think that would be super awesome. Imagine if Blizzard would make deals with a team like EG, like, hey, we're gonna sell like EG Marines. You get $1, we get $1. Like, there's really no harm in that.
I think they do it for Dota 2 already.
I think it would be super fun.
I play League of Legends casually, and I've probably spent $500 on League of Legends. I would have spent twice that on StarCraft if I had the option.
I think one thing they can learn is graphics. I think graphics for StarCraft II is way too high. The minimum requirement, and a lot of people love to stream, that too is really, really difficult. But going back to League of Legends, the requirements for League of Legends are pretty small, and that's what
you can basically play League of Legends on, like,
it allows
Commodore
them to
64.
Go into the Brazilian the Brazilian scene,
market,
the market, Chinese market, of course, the Asian market, I should say, in general. That's really, really valuable. I know the Philippines, Malaysia are so big into MOBAs, and especially League of Legends, because it's so graphically.
That's why Dota 1 is still huge there.
I remember the days that like we used to use clients, because Warcraft 3 Battle.net was really good. It was really functional, but the delay wasn't like as LAN. So we used to play over clients, what used to be GGC, then we called it Garena. And like if there were like Warcraft 3 for custom games, we had a couple of high-level channels. If we had like 3 channels full of players, we were like, hey, 750 people playing Warcraft 3 right now. And then you just see like the Dota rooms. Like Indonesia alone had like 225 Dota rooms, and they were all filled up with 250 players. Like, that's just insane. Yeah. That was Indonesia alone in Dota Warcraft 3, and that was just because, as Andre said, you didn't need a good PC to play Warcraft 3 Dota, and the game was so massive.
And what do we see from that? We see graphics. We see a new market that really StarCraft doesn't touch, because not only the LAN support, but also, let's be honest, like a lot of those clients, Warcraft 3 clients, were not legitimate. but
basically,
not in the free to play.
Same for Brood War in Korea.
It's the whole open source concept, right?
Yeah. It's free to play. It's team. I think StarCraft, if they want to get that big, which I'm not necessarily saying that they have to, but if they want to get that big, we have to think about those 3 things and say, where is the minimum requirements, the overall, I want to say like the computer standard for the Asian, the South American, and the North American scene, and then cater towards that if you're looking to get a massive amount of viewership. And I think that's what we should be concentrating on.
Well, also, it was built within the launcher itself for League of Legends to display the esports tournaments that were happening. The marketing was straight there for every single player when they logged in to find out what was happening.
Now, StarCraft's starting to do more of that.
It has caught on.
I think it's really cool, and I'm really proud of that. The one final thing that I would say as we kind of move away from this topic is League of Legends has recently, with their new season, has basically copied the StarCraft ladder. Like, Kev, you and me have talked a lot. Oh, I wish I knew my true rank. I wish I could see that I'm ranked 32,252 in the world. League of Legends used to do something pretty similar to that, but they copied the StarCraft ladder. They took that away. But they also built upon it, and they've built this new system where it's so cool because you go into your individual Diamond League, right, with 100 people in your Diamond League. I'm just using StarCraft terms here. But when you get to the top, when you get rank 1, now you're in a placement match. And that starts a new best-of-5 series where if you win 3 out of 5, you get promoted. I think that is awesome.
Yeah, transparency in the promotion is really cool.
Yeah, I think that's super cool, Ben. And as you said, we've spoken about that so many times, and I cannot tell you how many Blizzard employees have been getting annoyed with me having that conversation over and over again with them. That I said, like first, as I said, I kind of just like to see my true rank. Then they gave some valid points where they think, why they think it's better to have like separate groups. Makes it more motivating for lower league players. Like it's more motivating to see your top 8 bronze league than that you're ranked 48,765. I can understand that. I agree with that. But that's something that I've been pushing for a long time. Is please like make it at least more. Like make it closer to each other, because the top of Master League and the bottom of Master League, that difference is so incredibly big. It should be like there should be 3 leagues in between top Master League and bottom Master League. Because I can guarantee you, someone who's rank 1 Master League is never going to lose against someone, or well, never, maybe 2 out of 100 games, but really not more than that. And the fact that that's all grouped together on the Master League, that's something that they could still improve so badly in my opinion.
I mean, there is actually separation. There's like Bronze 1 where Ben is in, and then there's Bronze 5, which is like the very bottom of Bronze. It's like, wow, you know, you are Elo Hell at that point.
But I like that. Like they took the the StarCraft II ladder, but they made it better with subdivisions in the divisions, and I think that's something that StarCraft really needs as well.
Another thing I want to add too, and this is kind of a Super Bowl theme show. Super Bowl's on today, but production companies look at how like NBC did it last year and how CBS can improve this year. And that's the same thing that game developers do. They see what these games, matchmaking systems, type of graphics, all sorts of settings do, and they try to improve upon it. And that competition helps with the growth.
I do want to say one thing, too, and I really, this actually hurts me a lot.
Final words, Dan.
Okay, final words, I promise. Is that one thing I really loved about Brood War, and I didn't really play too much Warcraft 3, but I did, but was the custom games and like being able to like not actually play StarCraft, but you are at the same time. Like I love playing like the silly defense games or like RPGs and stuff like that.
That's
like
super fun.
Yeah, or like even like stupid bunker wars games.
Yeah,
Footman Wars, exactly. So cool. Like Marine Arena is really fun.
2v2v2v2 even.
Yeah,
that stuff is like
so like fun. That kind of stuff. That kind of the casual side of StarCraft II gaming is almost completely dead. The Desert Town is in an arcade. I go load up a game, maybe 2 people are waiting. In League of Legends, you have things like all random, all mid. A lot of people like play those kind of things for fun, and that helps people ease into the game as well. Maybe you can't play 1v1, but you can certainly play Star Jewel with a buddy.
No, I so agree. I mean, that was one of the best things about Warcraft 3. I'm sure there are plenty of people watching who remember the days, just going on Battle.net, hanging out in the chat channels. Yes, we have chat channels in StarCraft 2. I still felt they were better in Warcraft 3 just because they were more visible. The icons like really meant something. I would love to see them address like the icon system in StarCraft 2, because I mean, let's be honest, Cass had like Nova unlocked after 3 days or something. It's like this is not that exciting anymore, guys. Well, if you had like the maximum icon, the maximum.
I play so much StarCraft.
But like in Warcraft 3, it took like 1,500 wins, I think, or maybe 2,500 wins to get like the 5th highest icon of your rank. And then it's really cool to show off your rank. So yeah, the casual side of Battle.net can still improve.
All right, guys. Well, we're going to actually head over into a short break. We touched on a lot of topics. We do have one question for you guys, and I think it's a pretty good one. Lauren Lise, why don't you walk us through it?
Before I walk you guys through the next question, well, we don't have a next question, but we have to go through the old one.
From the last
we didn't
question,
answer the last one.
Okay, well we can do that. All right, so we're gonna go back. We're gonna go back to the Pulse poll from way so far ago when we asked what is the biggest heartbreak of the GSL, and you guys were split. It's between Stefano and MVP, and I agree. Those are both heart-wrenching stories. Back to the hot topic. We do have a question. We did have a question.
Would you spend $4 on a chance player portrait?
Yes.
That's a very important question.
Would you spend $4 on a chance play? Oh, I literally can't read that bar.
Okay. Thanks for playing today, Lauren. Guys, the Pulse poll question is, how interested are you in microtransactions? Would you spend $4 on a chance player portrait? We're going to take a short break. We'll be back.
New show. Are you smarter than Lauren?
When we get back, Clutch is going to bring us up to speed. Don't go anywhere. You're watching the Pulse.
A or B to vote.